of a child who is...
Contrast into sharp relief, doesn't it?
Hmm.
A child being scared of the dark. Well, that seems normal.
Hmm.
Instinctive, almost.
Hmm.
It's the unknown you can't see, and we forgive it, right? Because they don't understand the world yet.
Yeah, totally understandable.
But then applying that same fear, that avoidance, to light, to knowledge, maybe truth, even just self-awareness. When we're adults, that's where the essay says the real problem is. The tragedy. It makes you stop and think, what are we actively avoiding? What light are we afraid of? It's about maturity, but not just age,
Right.
more like mindset.
Absolutely. It makes you think about your own choices, those moments where you lean towards comfort instead of maybe truth. The essay brings this idea to life really well, using a story most of us know, Harry Potter.
Ah, yes.
It uses Harry and Voldemort to show this contrast, the child afraid of the dark versus the man afraid of the light. It makes it super relatable. So think about Harry. He's just 11, right? Plunged into this totally new, kind of bewildering, wizarding world, Hogwarts. The essay paints him as a child who's genuinely afraid of, well, almost everything new.
Right, it's all unknown.
He's wary of Hagrid at first, this giant guy who turns out to be a friend. He's nervous in the wand shop. Even getting on the train to Hogwarts is this big, scary unknown.
Yeah.
His fear, but also this huge curiosity, it comes directly from not knowing this new, dark world.
A world that also holds the key to his parents' death, tragically.
Exactly. So it's complex. But his fear, the essay suggests, it isn't just paralyzing. It's mixed with this curiosity that actually pushes him forward. He wants to understand, to adapt. It's that mix, isn't it? Have you ever started something totally new where everything felt unfamiliar, maybe a bit scary, but that curiosity just kept pulling you forward? That's Harry.
And that sets up the contrast perfectly. We move from Harry, the child navigating understandable fear, to Voldemort. He's the embodiment of the man afraid of the light. Voldemort, or Tom Riddle as he was brilliant, a really gifted magician, but he consciously chose darkness. He wanted immortality, power, control, above all else.
He was seduced by it.
Totally. And his teachers, especially Dumbledore, they tried. They offered him the light guidance, community, love, selflessness. But he was so deep into his path, so consumed by the quest for power, that he essentially became that darkness. He ended up fearing the very light others seek. Light, that means growth, truth, connection.
So it's not just good versus evil, like in a simple story.
No, it's much deeper. It's a metaphor for a fundamental choice we all face, maybe in smaller ways.
Yeah.
Do we embrace growth and knowledge, even when it's uncomfortable? Or do we cling to what feels familiar, what gives us a sense of control, even if it's ultimately destructive, even if it means shutting out truth?
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What happens when someone gets so locked into a certain way of thinking or wanting something so badly that they just resist anything that challenges it?
Yeah, it's a powerful look at stubbornness, denial, maybe even the fear of losing control, that refusal to evolve. It often leads down a bad path.
Wow, yeah. That framing, it's not just lacking light, but actively turning away from it. That's intense.
Okay, so let's dig into how the essay defines these terms more formally. Darkness, for instance.
Right. The essay gets specific. It defines darkness as anything which is uncertain, something that surrounds us with an unknown fear.
Okay.
And it uses that great image, the scene of black clouds surrounding all over the sky before a heavy rain. You know that feeling, right? That heavy, expectant feeling. You can't quite see what's coming.
Yeah, that sense of anticipation, maybe a bit of dread.
Exactly. And the essay points out that it's our inability to see, literally or metaphorically, that makes the dark even darker. It's the mystery, the lack of clarity, not knowing the outcome. That amplifies the fear. It's more than just not being able to see. It's a psychological vulnerability.
That makes sense. And then how does it define child? Because it's clearly not just about age.
Precisely. This is a really key point. The essay clarifies that a child isn't just an infant. It's anyone who is naive, a new entrant to any endeavor.
Okay, so it applies throughout life. Absolutely. Think about an actual human baby.
Yeah.
Their mind is like a blank slate, right? They're naturally afraid of this huge, complex world outside the womb. Taking those first steps, walking alone, learning to ride a bike, it's all venturing into the unknown, the dark.
That makes sense.
And it's not just humans. The essay mentions baby animals, too,
Yeah.
like mother minas, helping their babies in the nest before that first big, scary flight into the world outside, preparing them for the unknown.
Right.
But the really insightful part is applying this to adults. We're all children sometimes. A beginner in any field. The essay uses Neeraj Chopra, the Olympic champion, When he first started in sports, he was amazed, maybe a bit intimidated by all the different equipment, the disciplines. It was all new, a dark canvas.
He had to find his way.
Exactly. Or think about a new potter. They might feel scared by how perfect the experienced potters seem. They're in that child stage, new, learning, facing the daunting unknown of mastery. So the essay shifts our view of child from just age to a state of being, someone encountering the unknown for the first time. We all go through that again and again.
Mhm.
Can you think of a time when you felt like a child in that sense? New to something big, a bit scared, but that fear was maybe just the starting point.
Oh, definitely. Starting a new project, a new relationship, moving somewhere new. That feeling is universal, isn't it? That mix of fear and excitement. And this is where the essay gets really interesting, I think. It flips the script on fear.
Right.
It argues that this fear of darkness, this initial fear, isn't the tragedy. It's actually a remedy.
Yeah, that's counterintuitive, isn't it?
Totally. We usually think of fear as bad, something to get rid of, but here it's suggesting this initial fear is helpful, that it contains a hidden journey towards victory. It makes you think of that saying, the way to the solution is to go inside the problem.
Exactly. So the fear isn't the roadblock. It's actually part of the path forward.
So how does it work? How is fear a remedy?
Well, the essay explains that this fear, this apprehension about the dark or the unknown, it actually motivates you. It pushes you to come out of it, to learn, to adjust, to grow.
Okay, give me an example.
Think about a human child again. That basic fear of the world combined with curiosity makes them actively learn skills from parents, teachers, their environment. They adapt, they develop competence. Or a baby tiger. Instinct, maybe fear of danger, drives it to learn survival skills from its mother. The fear becomes essential fuel for learning.
It's not paralyzing then, it's energizing.
In these cases, yes. And it works on a bigger scale, too. Think about nations right after colonialism ended. They were in the dark, facing huge uncertainty. They were afraid of collapse, instability, but that fear pushed them to adjust, to build.
Like India.
Exactly. The essay uses India as an example. Left impoverished, fragmented, initially uncertain. But that fear, that need to survive and thrive, propelled it to build a democracy, strengthen its economy, and now it even dreams of being a superpower. So the essay argues that this fear of the dark is forgivable because it often leads to success. It's a necessary step.
Mhm.
It's like that quote from the essay, when we're in the dark, we might not know that we are just one step away from the light. It makes you ask, right? Is all fear bad? Or can some fears actually be powerful drivers for growth? Can you think of a time when being scared actually pushed you to learn something important or achieve something you didn't think you could?
Absolutely. Deadlines, maybe. A little bit of fear can be a great motivator. It really reframes vulnerability, doesn't it? Not as weakness, but as potential energy.
Yeah, it does.
So if feel the dark can be a remedy, what about the other side? The power of light. How does the essay talk about that? It brings in Martin Luther King Jr., right?
Yeah, it does. That powerful quote, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. It really underscores how crucial light is, especially when things are uncertain. The essay defines light broadly here. Anything that can clear our way to success.
So not just literal light.
Not at all. It's guidance, knowledge, inspiration, clarity. Anything that helps us navigate the challenges.
Okay, like what specifically?
Well, the essay gives great examples. Literal light, sure, on a dangerous path. But metaphorically, think about teachers, guardians, parents. Often our first light, right? Giving us basic knowledge, moral compass, showing us the way initially.
They illuminate things for us.
Exactly. Or go back to Neeraj Chopra. When he was uncertain in the sports world, his light wasn't one thing. It was the whole process of exploring different options, the guidance he received. That exploration led him to the javelin and eventually gold. It was the journey of discovery.
That makes sense.
And think about figures like Maya Angelou or Helen Keller. Their light was often their teachers, like Anne Sullivan for Helen. They provided the tools, the understanding to navigate incredibly dark childhoods and rise above huge obstacles.
Incredible story.
And even for whole nations facing darkness, like during the pandemic. The light was scientific breakthroughs, vaccines, treatments, public health strategies. That innovation guided nations through the crisis and helped them prepare for the future. The essay even uses that Dumbledore quote again. One can find happiness even in the darkest of the rooms, if only we turn on the lights.
I love that quote.
It really emphasizes that we have to actively seek out and embrace these guiding forces, people, ideas, innovations. Without that search, without turning on the light, that's when the tragedy happens, according to the essay. So I wonder for you, the listener, who or what has been a light for you during a tough or uncertain time?
That Dumbledore quote really resonates. It's about our own agency, isn't it? Choosing to look for illumination. And that leads us right into the essay's core argument, the really serious part. The tragedy, the unforgiving fear of light.
Right, this is where it gets quite deep and maybe a bit unsettling.
It's not just about not having light or struggling to find it. It's about an active, almost defiant fear of it, an
Mhm.
unforgiving fear. The essay says people fear virtuous light, truth, knowledge, progress, moral clarity, and they actively refuse to ward off their inner evils.
It's a deliberate choice to stay in the dark, even when a better path is obvious.
Exactly, even when the light is offered.
And the essay gives some really stark examples of this on both individual and societal levels. Individually, think about someone struggling with drug addiction. The light is their support from peers, family, professional help. But often, the essay notes, it's incapable of generating a change. Why? Because of internal resistance? Maybe a fear of facing their choices, of the difficulty of change? Similarly, an extremist locked into an ideology. They might ignore the light from their own religion's teachings of peace, or even the suffering their actions cause. The external light is present, but there's an internal refusal, a fear of changing their whole worldview.
It's a powerful internal barrier.
Hugely powerful. And it plays out on a bigger scale, too, societally, nationally. The essay points to nations like Pakistan and China. It suggests that light from international organizations may be calling for action on terrorism or human rights often doesn't get a real positive response. It applies a deliberate ignoring of truth, a fear of transparency, maybe.
That's a strong claim.
It is. And another powerful example, the fight for women's empowerment. For centuries, the light of equality and rights is shown, but it often fails to bring about deep systemic change against entrenched patriarchy. The light is there, but the fear of disrupting power structures, of changing traditions, leads to massive resistance.
And there was that specific example from Rajasthan.
Is a really nuanced one. It mentions some women there not fully embracing the light of empowerment sometimes to avoid being used as water.
What does that mean?
That's a stark metaphor. It likely refers to historical contexts where women were treated like commodities, maybe forced into marriages or labor to settle debts. In that kind of unjust system, the light of independence might paradoxically feel like it exposes them to new dangers or exploitation if the underlying system hasn't changed. It shows a deep, complex resistance born from systemic issues, not just individual choice.
Wow, so the fear isn't always simple.
Not at all. And the essay says something really potent here. A light is therefore never to be forgiven, for we can make the light brighter, but can never force the person to accept the light.
That's kind of bleak.
It highlights a frustrating truth, doesn't it? You can offer truth, opportunity, clarity, but real change needs that internal acceptance, a willingness to face the darkness within. It even mentions Einstein, suggesting his inner light helped him overcome early struggles. It makes you ask, what makes it so hard for people or whole societies to accept light, even when it's clearly for their own good? Is it just fear of the unknown, or is there a strange comfort in familiar darkness?
That's a really tough question. It points to something deep in us, that tension between comfort and truth. And the essay goes even further, linking light to the spiritual, the communal.
Right. It suggests that light is often equated with God in many religions of the world. So rejecting light, rejecting truth and goodness could be seen as rejecting a path to the divine, to spiritual well-being.
It mentions a Sufi devotee.
Yes, their longing expressed as I want to just see you, that yearning for ultimate truth, the pure light of the divine. And it quotes the poet Irshad Kamil. My way is the same as the way my journey takes me to, suggesting a meaningful life is one guided by this inner and outer light, aligned with truth.
It adds another layer entirely.
And it leads to a really powerful conclusion for this essay. It's not just about individual choice anymore. It becomes our responsibility as a community to spread light so that it reaches the last person standing.
A communal duty.
Exactly. It moves beyond the individual struggles to a collective mission. We need to actively fight ignorance, prejudice, that resistance to truth, not just for ourselves, but for everyone. We have a role in lighting the path for others. It makes you think, doesn't it? What's one small way you could help spread light in your community or to someone you know? Even a small action.
That's a beautiful, actionable thought to take away. Wow, what a journey through fear, darkness, and light. Okay, let's shift gears now. We're moving to the second essay, and it presents, well, a much more somber statement, I think, one that echoes through history. The question here is, only the dead have seen the end of the war. That hits hard, doesn't it? What's your immediate feeling about that?
Yeah, my immediate reaction is just a sense of the relentlessness of it all, the inescapability of conflict. It kind of challenges that deep hope we have for a lasting, definitive peace.
Right. It makes peace feel temporary.
Exactly. It suggests that while specific battles or even huge wars might end, the underlying human tendency towards struggle, disagreement, rivalry, outright conflict, it's always there. Maybe it's even part of us.
Yeah.
It forces you to broaden your definition of war way beyond just soldiers and armies.
It really does. Makes you question if peace is ever the destination. The essay dives right into this by taking us on a quick historical tour. It points out how the long 20th century and after has seen endless wars. It sets the stage immediately, no illusions about peace being the default.
And the examples it uses really hammer this home. Grim stuff. First half of the 20th century, World War I, unimaginable horror. Then the period between the wars, the interregnum, far from peaceful, right? Clashes, ethnic violence, the Holocaust, millions lost.
With constant turmoil.
And then boom, World War II. Even more widespread destruction. Then the second half of the century brings the Cold War. Not direct fighting between the big powers, but this constant tension, this nuclear threat hanging over everything.
That shadow was always there.
Always. And when the Cold War ended, around 1992, there was this huge global sigh of relief. Real hope for a peaceful world order.
I remember that feeling.
We all do. But the essay points out that hope was shattered pretty quickly. Within a couple of decades, we get major conflicts like the Russian-Ukraine war, causing devastation that ripples out globally, militarily, economically, ethically. It affects us all.
And that's just one war we know about.
Exactly. The essay reminds us that's just one of the wars fighting today. It stresses there are many of the wars still hidden, in which millions are dying a silent death without any of us even knowing. Resource wars, proxy conflicts, internal strife that just doesn't make headlines. So yeah, it really challenges that comforting idea of peace as this permanent state. It frames it more like a fragile pause between conflicts. When you think about war, what usually comes to mind for you? Does this historical sweep, including those hidden conflicts, change how you see it?
It definitely broadens it. War isn't just declared battles, it's this constant undercurrent, sometimes invisible. So the essay aims to analyze these wars, this endlessness, and why only the dead see the end. And crucially, it asks if it's even possible to stop these endless wars while we're alive.
Right, and it starts looking at different dimensions of war, maybe less obvious ones.
Like the political fistfight.
Yeah, that's the first one. Politically, the essay says wars are like various rat races the political parties and contestants run for the throne of power. It's not just elections. It's this constant, aggressive jockeying for control.
An endless competition.
Exactly. Endless in how often it happens, and endless in all the ways they fight debates, laws, smear campaigns, you name it. And the dead in this war. It defines them, interestingly. Either politicians who finally retire step out of the fight, or, more poignantly, the people who became the sufferers of the filthy war. The citizens hurt by hate speech, corruption, policies based on short-term gain like freebies that stop real progress. The essay says these are the people who ended their hope from the political class.
Wow. Death as the death of hope.
It's a powerful idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
Losing faith in the system. How do you see these political fistfights affecting daily life or what you see in the news?
Death as the death of hope.
It's a powerful idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
Losing faith in the system. How do you see these political fistfights affecting daily life or what you see in the news? Does it feel like a kind of ongoing conflict to you?
It can definitely feel that way, yeah. That constant antagonism can be exhausting and feel like a battle that never resolves. Okay, so that's the political angle. What about wars between nations, the more traditional kind? The essay says they end either with devastation or collective victory, like after WWII.
Right, but it quickly adds that even then, the war never ends, and it's just the matter of time that another war takes place. It's cyclical. Here, the dead are obvious. The
Yep.
soldiers, the civilians caught in the middle, they see the end of that specific war because, well, they're gone. But then it introduces another group who see the end differently, a privileged class who actively choose the path of peace.
Like Japan.
Japan is the key example. After the horror of World War II, the atomic bombs, they made a profound strategic choice. They didn't seek revenge or challenge U.S. power. They focused on cooperation, rebuilding their economy, becoming a powerhouse without a large offensive military.
So peace as a strategy.
Exactly. The essay suggests that while specific wars end, the underlying potential for conflict just stays there. A real end only comes for the physically dead, or for those societies that make a deliberate, sustained choice for peace and cooperation, even if it means giving up certain kinds of power. It makes you think, is choosing peace always just surrender? Or can it be a really powerful strategic move for survival and prosperity, like Japan showed?
That's a great question. Peace is strength, not weakness. The essay then zooms out even further, right? To ancient history.
Yeah, it reminds us, ever since the beginning of human race, we have been fighting. Civilizations have came and gone fighting with each other. It mentions the Indus Valley civilization facing the Aryan onslaught. Just one example of how conflict has reshaped, even erased, entire cultures throughout time. It's not new.
And how does it define the dead here?
This is where it gets really expansive. The dead aren't just the fighters who died. It includes those who could change their ways, migrating into different areas and taking up new ways of life, or beginning from a rural culture.
So adaptation is a kind of death.
In a sense, the essay makes this key point. Dead are not only those who lost, but also those who were victors. When civilizations clash or cultures merge, the old ways of life, social structures, traditions, identities, they can metaphorically die. Even for the victors, their culture changes profoundly. It's about cultural transformation, assimilation, sometimes eradication.
A death of a way of life.
Precisely. Not just physical death, but the end of cultures, identities, belief systems facing massive change. How does that idea resonate with you? This death of a culture or a way of life due to conflict or change. Can you think of examples?
It's very poignant. You see it in colonization, globalization,
Right.
the loss of languages, traditions. It's a different kind of casualty of conflict.
Hmm.
Okay, so the essay is really stretching our definition of war. It's moving beyond battlefields and ancient history to these endless wars in our everyday lives, societal struggles.
Exactly. These aren't always fought with weapons, but they have huge impacts.
Like the fight for women's rights, the essay says women have been fighting since time immemorial. It gives examples spanning ages, Brahmavadini Gargi in ancient India, challenging sages with her intellect.
A courageous act back then.
Absolutely. And then modern figures like Malala Yousafzai fighting for education. But the essay also points out the cost. People like Masa Amini who lose their lives becoming martyrs. Others like Taslima Nasreen threatened for speaking out. These women, the essay suggests, are the ones who saw the end of fight against patriarchy. Their sacrifice or silencing marks an endpoint for their personal struggle in that war.
It's a grim perspective on seeing the end.
It is. Then there's the war of environmental destruction. The essay calls it a killing silent way of warfare, insidious. And who sees the end? Only the innocent victims of extreme weather events, floods, droughts, fires, their lives cut short, homes lost. For them, the environmental war ends tragically.
They bear the ultimate cost of that silent conflict.
And the essay mentions other endless wars, too, the fight against poverty, hunger, malnutrition. For millions, each day is a new challenge, a new loss to the war. The dead here are either those who lose their lives to these systemic failures, these fallacies of human race, or again, a different kind of death, people who adjusted to it through technology or adaptation. Like using biotech for food, adapting to survive the war on hunger, but changing how we live and eat.
It really shows how war permeates everything, doesn't it? Justice, survival, well-being. These are framed as constant battles with real, often silent casualties, expanding war to include these huge societal struggles.
Right.
Does it make ending war seem totally impossible? Or does it actually make it feel more urgent, needing a much broader approach to peace? Can you think of an endless war in your own community, maybe around healthcare, education, justice that causes real harm, even without guns?
That's a sobering thought, realizing how many fronts these wars are fought on. And just when you think you've grasped all these types, the essay throws another one at us, maybe the most unsettling for our time. Science's new front of warfare.
Yeah, this one feels very current.
It mentions Sophia, the AI robot, saying something like, "One day robots will rule the world." It sounds like sci-fi, but the essay takes it seriously.
It does. It talks about the threat of artificial intelligence, how scientists worldwide wrote to OpenAI, warning them to stop the devastation of humanity from AI, a near field of warfare. This isn't fantasy. It's experts worried about AI creating new kinds of conflict and disruption.
And how does it define dead in this context?
This is really striking. The essay calls this AI warfare more endless than any
Hmm.
fought militarily because it's relentless, pervasive, and it says the living are the deads.
The living are the deads. What does that mean?
It means people witnessing their cultures, skills, employment, and intellect all diminishing in seconds as AI takes over tasks, reshapes knowledge, changes human roles. It's not physical death. It's an existential death, losing what makes us human useful, culturally relevant. A silent, rapid warfare targeting our identity and purpose. How does that make you feel? This idea of technology waging a war where our skills, our jobs, our very identity could become obsolete.
Yeah, it's a heavy thought. Existential death while still breathing.
Mm.
Wow. Okay, after exploring all these endless wars, political, environmental, ancient, societal, now technological, it's easy to feel, well, pretty bleak, overwhelmed.
Definitely.
But the essay doesn't just leave us there in the gloom, right? It asks the crucial question, ending the war without dying in it. It actually tries to offer some hope, some paths forward.
Yes, thankfully. It turns to some profound philosophies and principles. First, Buddhist philosophy. Buddha taught that suffering comes from endless human desire, our craving for power, control, stuff that fuels these endless wars.
So the root is internal.
According to Buddha, yes. And the solution is internal too. Right vision, right livelihood, right action and conduct. Building harmony not through force, but through individual responsibility, compassion, non-attachment. For Buddha, this path led to enlightenment, overcoming the wars within and without. For us, the essay suggests this can be the very spirit of humanity, a guide to peace.
A shift in mindset.
Exactly. And beyond philosophy, it stresses collective and individual responsibility for nations. Commit to build a world order in which everyone is safe and no one's territorial conquests or dominance takes place. Real global cooperation, mutual respect, rejecting expansionism.
A tall order.
Huge. And for individuals, choose to build a lifestyle which isn't destructive of the surrounding environment, acknowledging our role in environmental wars, choosing sustainability. It mentions life from India, the lifestyle for environment movement, conscious resource use, living in harmony.
Practical step.
Right. And it ties it all together with that amazing quote from Sahir Ludhanvi. Ingvila biawakwahai, hachohak dartak nahi buncha. Roughly, revolution is when rights haven't reached the rightful owner. Ending war isn't just stopping fighting, it's about achieving social justice, ensuring rights for everyone.
So ending war means building a just world.
That's the implication. The essay ends on this hopeful note. We all have the right to see the wars of the world to end and see the light of a new morning where all the racks, the broken parts of the society have been filled in with the sands of love. It's a beautiful image. But considering all these wars we talked about, political, environmental, AI, which of these solutions feels the most challenging to actually achieve? Individual change, global cooperation, that deep philosophical shift. What do you think?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Maybe the global cooperation part feels hardest, given everything. But the essay leaves us with that powerful vision. Okay, deep breaths. We have covered so much ground today, like a real whirlwind coffee chat through some massive ideas. Let's do a quick recap, try and lock these key points in for long-term memory.
Good idea. Active recall time.
Okay, essay 1. Started with that paradox. Forgiving a child's fear of the dark versus the tragedy of men fearing light. We define darkness as uncertainty, the unknown. A child is anyone new, naive, Harry Potter, Neeraj Chopra. Then the twist. Fear of darkness is a remedy, not a tragedy. It motivates learning, growth of baby animals surviving, India building itself post-colonialism.
Right. Fear is fuel.
Then light's power, guidance, knowledge, innovation. Teachers like for Maya Angelou, Helen Keller, Neeraj finding the javelin. Science during the pandemic, but the real tragedy. That unforgiving fear of light. Actively resisting truth, positive change, drug abusers, extremists, nations ignoring accountability, Pakistan, China mentioned. The slow fight against patriarchy, that complex resistance in Rajasthan.
The deliberate turning away.
And finally, light is divine, connected to spirituality. And it's our communal responsibility to spread it, help everyone find it, foster inner acceptance.
A powerful call to action.
Okay, then essay 2. The big sobering statement. Only the dead have seen the end of the war. We saw the endless historical cycle, WWI, WWII, Cold War, Russia, Ukraine, hidden wars. Then it broadened war.
Yeah, beyond battlefields.
Right. Political rat races where the dead lose hope, international conflicts where end means death or choosing peace like Japan, clashes of civilizations leading to the death of cultures, ways of life.
That cultural death idea was striking.
It was. Then societal struggles, women's rights, Garita Malala, but also Masa Amini, environmental destruction, silent victims, poverty, hunger. And the new front, scientific warfare via AI, threatening skills, identity, making the living feel like the dead's.
Existential.
But paths to peace. Buddhist philosophy, overcome desire, right conduct, build harmony, collective responsibility, safe world order for nations, individual responsibility, non-destructive lifestyles, like India's life concept, and achieving justice, where, as Sahir Lutyandi said, rights haven't reached its right holder. Ending war is building a just world filled with the sands of love.
That's a comprehensive suite. This whole deep dive, it really pushes us, doesn't it? To look hard at our fears, what light means to us, and just how many forms war takes. It really hammers home that knowledge isn't just about knowing facts, but about understanding possibilities. What could be if we make different choices, individually and together. Out of all that, what idea or insight really stood out most powerfully to you?
That's a tough one after covering so much. Maybe it's that connection between the two essays. If a child's fear of the dark is okay because it leads to growth, and the real tragedy is fearing the light, then maybe courage isn't about not being afraid. Maybe real courage is constantly choosing to seek out and embrace the light, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it challenges us, even when it means confronting these endless wars inside and out. What might that look like for you, listener, this week? One small step towards seeking or spreading light.
That's a great takeaway. And it leaves us with this big question, doesn't it? In a world that feels full of darkness and conflict, how do we, each of us, cultivate that inner light? And how do we actively help fill those racks in society, those broken places, with those sands of love? How do we build connection and peace, piece by piece?
Profound questions to carry with us. Until next time, keep diving deep.